Hello fellow earthlings, this is Chris Pickard trying not to be too professional at Brookman's Park Body Imbalance, and today the subject is the talk right subject is happy hormones. Why do I want you to have happy hormones? Because I want you to help me save the NHS by never needing to use it. And hormones are part of one of your internal communication systems, and there are all kinds of things that are wreaking havoc with your hormones, your daughter's hormones, your mother's hormones, your sister's hormones, your father's hormones, your brother's hormones. There's just loads of stuff out there wreaking havoc with hormones. And what I would like to do in the next few minutes is basically tell you some of the worst things, give you lots more information about where you can find a huge amount more information, and then of course, yeah, well, what you can do, what's good, what's bad, basically. Let's just do a few more gazillion of these. Gosh, there's so many. How many more? That's it. There we go. Okay. So, hello everyone, I'm back. So today, talking about internal communication systems and hormones. What are the really bad things and what are the really good things to do? So, first on the list, this is an absolute no-no, okay? Whatever hormone problem you have or don't have, never eat between 5:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning if you can possibly avoid it. I have yet to check up on the facts upon this particular little bit of knowledge, but it was given to me by someone who works with huge amounts of hormones, and eating at this time, even if you're eating healthily, can cause major disruptions with hormones. So if you already have major hormone problems, just never eat between 5:30 and 8 o'clock. Drinking water and stuff like that is okay, but don't eat. Okay, this is why intermittent fasting, or one of the reasons why intermittent fasting is so good for hormones and hormone control. In fact, trying to get your body into fat burning, into ketogenesis, whether you do it via intermittent fasting or whether you go the whole hog and eat a ketogenic diet as well, it's one of the best single tools that you have for really trying to gain control over all kinds of hormone issues. So again, that's within your control. Okay, it's just tough to do the full ketogenic diet. So that's a couple of big things for and against, something that's bad for hormones, something that's good for hormones. But let me get on to what hormones are made of a little bit more, because it is so important that unless you get the right things going in your body, you can't make hormones anyway, and we do need them. Now there's two basic ways to split up the hormones in your body. You have ones that are basically made from proteins and polypeptides. So you're talking about things that you get from, meat and fish, dairy products, nuts, seeds, lots and lots of proteins. So some are made from proteins. So something like insulin, for instance, a lot of the brain hormones and chemicals, all made from proteins. I mean, in your treatment, I have plus access bars. Oh, access bars, yeah. Clearing treatments. In the last month, I've gone from 20 hot flush a day to 2 or 3. Fantastic. That's amazing, Jen. That's amazing. So, yeah, so proteins. Okay, then the other sort of major, and insulin is made from polypeptides. So you need proteins to make insulin to get your blood glucose down. And so many people just are not having enough of the right proteins, not having good quality proteins. And I'll be telling you about the worst possible sources in a minute for proteins. The other thing is the other type of proteins are those made from fats. Lots of hormones are made from fats. All of the major steroid and sex hormones are made from fat. So whether you're talking about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, all your major stress hormones are made from fat. Now that doesn't mean to say if you don't eat fat you can't get stressed. That's not what I'm saying. But you need, when you are stressed, Okay, and what's the major fat that all these things are made from? That's the C here. Proteins, fats, C, cholesterol. Yes, cholesterol is back again. Most of your major fat hormones are made and synthesized from cholesterol. So what happens if you're really stressed, or if your body's needing to make lots of hormones? It needs cholesterol. Now, cholesterol doesn't just magically get made in your liver and get transported into your cells. It has to go into your bloodstream. So what do you think is going to happen to your cholesterol levels in your blood if you're always stressed? Your cholesterol levels are going to go up. And so what happens if you have a blood test when you've had months and months and months of stress? Your cholesterol levels are going to be high. Your body does it for a reason. It doesn't just put cholesterol into your blood just to give the drug companies a major reason to give you a drug that you don't need. Most medical doctors never look beyond why. They look at the cholesterol, but they don't actually look at why. The top heart specialists, like my friend David Dighton, who runs the Loughton Cardiac Centre in Loughton, he always looks at why cholesterol might be high, and he's one of my main sources about cholesterol and hearts. So very, 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 very important to understand why your cholesterol is going high. And one of them is because your body's trying to make hormones, which are kind of a little bit important for your life. So what's the D? Just like yesterday, vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is actually called a prohormone because guess what it's made from? Cholesterol. And it's really important for balancing your hormones. You need enough D3 to actually sort of make things right, to bring things into homeostasis. It's not the only thing, but it's one of the things that's missing from so many people. So D3 is a good supplement to take if you've got hormone issues for most people. So the hormones have to be made, okay? But then, of course, you have to make them in the right way, and then you have to make sure that the things they're signaling to, your cells, are actually receptive. So this brings me once again to my friend, the cell, and its cholesterol membrane. Now, if you've already watched the 5 R's training on cellular health, then you already know this, okay? But if not, here we go. So all your cell membranes, lots of cholesterol, and then there's lots of receptors on here for all kinds of different hormones, like insulin, for instance. Now, if a little bit of insulin gets onto this, then it goes, okay, I'm going to accept glucose into the cell. But if there's loads and loads of insulin, eventually it's a bit like if I started just whittering on and on and on and on and on and on, eventually you tune it out. And this is what can happen, and what happens with a lot of people. They get insulin resistance, but it's not, and so that means that to get the same effect of getting glucose into your cells, insulin levels just get higher and higher and higher to have the same effect. And there's a number of reasons why insulin resistance happens. But it also happens with thyroid hormones, happens with cortisol, happens with every hormone. You can get resistance to every hormone. And one of the major reasons is because all of this is inflamed because of toxins attacking it, or the fact that you just aren't making these things properly because you haven't got all the right ingredients. And toxins really are a major, major cause of not just resistance to hormones, but also disrupting their proper manufacture and their proper ability to do what they're meant to do, their proper structure. So one thing I always recommend for people with any kind of hormone issue is have some kind of tests, or go to someone that knows at least a little bit about detoxing properly. And so I always recommend do the visual contrast sensitivity test and do the neurotoxic, and fill out the neurotoxic questionnaire or the metabolic detox questionnaire, either of those. So again, if you want those, email me, I'll send them out to you. So cells have got to be receptive, and so many people, they're making all the right hormones and they're in the blood, but the cell's just not receptive to them. So it's not just about are you making them and are they in the blood, and you can have completely normal thyroid hormone levels, for instance, but you can feel tired all the time, you can be putting on weight, or you can have your eyes bulging. So your thyroid hormone levels may be fine in the blood, but your cells are just not receptive, or they're over receptive sometimes, or your body's not converting hormones to their active forms, which is often blocked by toxins and nutritional deficiencies. So it's very, very important. Which brings me to thyroid. Okay, now thyroid is one of the most tricky hormones to get completely under control, because so many of the things that are actually healthy for you can actually be terrible for a thyroid problem that's already happened. And that's basically lots of things. There's a huge list of things that are healthy that are bad for thyroids. So if you have a thyroid problem, okay, you avoid cruciferous vegetables, or too many of them. So that's things like broccoli, which broccoli is really good if you have estrogen problems, but it's crap if you've got thyroid problems. Kale, spinach, all sorts of things, okay? They have things in there that are bad for thyroid, like cyanide almost to the thyroid. And you need a proper balance of iodine in your blood against all these other things. So if you have a thyroid problem, I'm going to put a link to some really good resources for helping you understand what foods to avoid if you have a thyroid problem. And some of the things, if you have a thyroid problem, you really need to be doing intermittent fasting. And then a lot of other diet variation, and you need to detox so much of the time when you have thyroid problems, and get all the right nutrients in as well. And then, yes, some of them, Jackie, some of the foods are better if cooked because it destroys the thing that's bad. So kale, for instance, never have it raw, but it's okay cooked. Spinach is better cooked as well. Broccoli, I don't know. I think it might be bad either way. Not sure. But I'll put a yes, so many people are eating the wrong. I'll put a resource so you can look at more, okay? And then, why have I written chicken down here? Because chicken is, I mean, so many people, they stop eating red meat because most red meat is full of bad fats, okay? Unless you're getting red meat from grass-fed cows, or you're getting it from its natural wild state, then it is a health food, and it's very, very good for you, okay? But chicken, nearly all chicken is just so full of hormones and antibiotics. It's just ripping things to pieces. Oh, this just reminds me as well. I'm just gonna have to say, before I forget, makeup as well. Sorry, ladies. Chicken is just a massive estrogen disruptor. So if you have female hormone problems and you're eating chicken, stop eating chicken. Stop having anything but organic dairy, because it's just horrible. Organic chickens, they can still be fed organic grains, and so they're still classed as organic, as my understanding goes. So they could still be eating the wrong diet, so therefore they're still the wrong stuff inside them. So organic is not as good in my mind as free range, and if it's free range and organic, that's even better. But free range, trying to find a local farm, it makes such a difference. You'll taste the difference between a properly raised chicken and an improperly raised one. So organic doesn't necessarily mean it's really got to be free range, eating all the bugs and grubs and things. Same with all meats and all fish. Is it eating its wild natural food? Nearly all farm things, so like farm salmon, probably no good for you really. It's okay for protein, I suppose. Farmed beef, ugh. Lamb is possibly one of the only exceptions because it's eaten grass, basically. So, chickens are one to avoid. And the other thing is there's lots of man-made chemicals, okay, which you find in wheat. Wheat is full of chemicals now and pesticides. Lots of the foods, everything that comes from it, even organic wheat products contain so many hormone disruptors, glyphosate, that's just terrible for you. But so does a lot of makeup, perfumes, feminine hygiene products, cotton pads, intimate wipes, things like that, full of toxic hormone disrupting things. So again, I'm going to put up a resource for you to have a look at what you can change there if you have big hormone problems. Okay, so there is a lot to look at. and certainly more than I could ever cover in just one single little broadcast, more than I could do in a big webinar as well. There's a lot. Webinars. That reminds me. Who would like a full Magnificent 7 webinar where I go into more details, or sometimes just recapping what I've already been through, but so I can have something then stuck up on YouTube so it's there as a big, hour, could be an hour and a half long thing about the Magnificent 7, because that's something I'm planning to do in the next few weeks. Okay, so I'll send out an email to remind everyone, and then yeah, fantastic. Okay, so if you know anyone who has some kind of hormone issues, man or lady, thyroid problems especially, because they are so tricky, then please just share this with them, because just watching the information, just getting intermittent fasting, avoiding eating at these times, avoiding the chicken, making sure you're getting the right nutrients, basic nutrients into the body, can make such a huge difference. Okay, so live long and prosper, everyone, and I will see you all tomorrow at 1:30. And if you're in the My 365 group, of course you'll probably see me for the weekly catch-up with whatever I have to say then about what I've learnt and what I've achieved and what I'm going to do with it all. Okay, and if anyone here is watching who is not a member of My 365, join, because it's amazing and it keeps it all happy and buoyant and lovely. Be well, everyone.